have 41 amazing items thanks to all of our donors. We have art pieces, we have food, homemade food, we have jewelry, we have different experiences. I feel like there's a little bit for everyone, and maybe there isn't something for you, but there's something for somebody else that you have in mind, so you can get your holiday shopping started. And yeah, you have time. We're closing. Our auction comes to an end at 7:30, so you have a little less than an hour to go. So I really encourage you guys to bid on something. I love seeing everyone have like a little bid war. I've been outbid already on something, but there's even some really cool plants too, some very rare plants on there. And if you're a plant parent, score yourself a plant and a plant care bundle. So don't forget, you have until 7:30. So, and thank you to everyone who has bid already.
Thank you, Sally.
Hello, everybody. I'm super happy that you are here. My name is Kelly Caballero. I am Tongva. My people are from the Los Angeles Basin. I am from the Los Angeles Basin. We are the original people of this area. Thank you, Nature for All, for having me and honoring Indigenous people and honoring American Heritage Month, but also actively having me as a participant here today for this fundraiser. So I just want to share a couple of my original works with you. This first song is titled Anywhere, and I'm not encouraging travel during a global pandemic, but I really want to highlight the fact that living in such an urban and developed city, that finding nature is incredibly hard and it's disheartening sometimes. And this song was kind of my plea to escape and find that solace that we so often need in nature. And the more we are separated from nature here in the city, the more distant and disconnected we become to our own spirits, because the earth is our home, and obviously it's our caretaker as much as we are its caretaker. So this is that song titled Anywhere. They say I'm like the dolphin, just swimming through the ocean, just riding the waves, just going through the motions. They say I'm like a butterfly floating in the wind, going this way and that way, I ain't following. But I feel like a hummingbird, it gets my heart racing when I think about this life and how it'll all be forsaken. So I live it on the edge and I push it to the limits to feel like I'm living. So anywhere that the trade winds blow, I'll go. Anywhere that the sun shines, I'll follow. Anywhere that the clear waters flow, I'll go. Anywhere, ooh, there's so many dark days just living in a city, caught in a trap that they call success and good living. I know it ain't for me and it's not in my ways. I'm trying to escape, I'm trying to leave this place and go where the open road meets the open skies, and on the journeys where the truth and lies. So I need no destination, I just need to be free. I'll be at peace when nature surrounds me. So anywhere that the trade winds blow, I'll go. Anywhere that the sun shines, I'll follow. Anywhere that the clear waters flow, I'll go. Anywhere, ooh. There's so much more than four walls and a ceiling. So I'm sorry, but I'm packing up my things and I'm leaving. And I know it hurts to have to watch me go, but it's the only thing to feed my hungry soul. So it leads me from the city and into the wild. It's the only thing to ease my troubled mind. Anywhere that the trade winds blow, I'll go. Anywhere that the sun shines, I'll follow. Anywhere that the clear waters flow, I'll go. Anywhere. Ooh. Thank you, guys. I'm super happy to be here. It's nice to be with people and share community, especially that revolves around the land and nature. And I think the one thing that is truly our home. And so my work as a singer-songwriter and a poet and as an Indigenous person living in a city, I like to touch on all those intersections because it's a complicated identity being of this land and this land being covered in concrete. So this next song is titled Mountains, and it's as if I am the mountains. It's as if the mountains are speaking and want to be found. Better than I can explain things, I can sing them. So this is that song. To Heart of stone, with my head in the clouds. Heart of stone, with my head in the clouds. Heart of stone, with my head in the clouds. Thank you guys. Do I have time for one more? I know we're like on a time crunch. One more?
Yes, yes, one more.
So yes, go for it.
Okay, this last one is titled Hues of Blue, and this one you can find on Spotify, iTunes, all of that. But this one is about the water, our first home, where I believe that we can also return to in other worlds and also in this life. So if you're struggling with anything, the ocean is my go-to place. And if you've lost someone during this pandemic, or due to police violence or human trafficking or anything violent of that sort, or even just a natural loss, I understand that pain. And this song is about the healing power of water. Voices in the wind, whispering to me, saying everything is going to be alright, as I descend from the sky. Gone are the wings, I'm returning to the water. The currents are calling me home. Hues of blue, life will never be the same. I'd rather give my wings away than live a life without you in the clouds. Searching for a part of you, water was the only place to find you. Hues of blue, hues of blue. I'm losing my senses, I'm left with my thoughts, and I think of you as I'm drifting off into blue. I'm weightless but sinking into unknown. All that I'm left with are the colors of my soul. Hues of blue, life will never be the same. I'd rather give my wings away than live a life without you in the clouds. Searching for a part of you, water was the only place to find you. Hues of blue, hues of I'm dancing with light and moving with beauty, and being with you is all that could soothe me now. 'Cause the deeper I go, the closer I get to you. Life without you is life without breath, and now I'm blue with you. Thank you so much, Nature for All, for having me, all the participants here and everybody. My name is Kelly Caballero. You can find me on Instagram, Kelly_Mija, MIJA, and I believe someone put my website in the chats. But yes, honoring Indigenous people today, every day, and always. Thank you for honoring the Tongva people and myself today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yay.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Well, Kelly, that was just amazing. So inspirational, and got us to a place where I think, we really just have to appreciate our land and recognize that, we are but temporary people on this land, and we have to acknowledge that history, and you do it so beautifully. So thank you very, very much. And now I'm going to kick it over to Thomas Wong, our board chair, who I think is going to give us a welcome. And then we're going to have a land acknowledgement after that. So, and apologies to everyone, and thank you so much for hanging in with us.
So yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks Belinda, and that was great, Kelly. Welcome again to our fall fundraiser. This is the one that's going to help us kind of close out the year. And I know it's a weird time, right after the election, and we're still in COVID. Most people of us are still stuck at home for the most part. And the weather's changing and everything. We appreciate you, and I know there are a lot of things you can be doing on a Thursday night, not being stuck on camera or kind of going to an event. If you're like me with work, endless kind of Zoom calls and video calls through the day, I know it's a lot to come out to a night event and on Zoom, but I hope you'll enjoy tonight. We'll keep it short and sweet as much as possible, and we'll tonight gonna go into some stories from some of our leadership program graduates and some of the work that they're doing and the amazing work that they're doing to support our communities. Highlight a few of my fellow board members and the work of the staff at Nature for All, and thank you for your support. I know it means a lot for each of us that you're spending not only time but also donating and contributing your own resources. I know it's a tough time for a lot of people in our communities, so thank you so much for supporting our work, supporting the work of Nature for All, and supporting our communities as well. And so let's we'll kind of leave it at that, and hope you'll stay with us. We've got a short program coming up, but we want to start with a land acknowledgement, and we'll cue up the video.
Miiha noone shivanga nonim herka noiha tomechar. Hello, my name is Joshua Andujo. I'm a tribal member of the Gabrielino Tongva, San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians. I descend from the village known as Shivanga, which is in Montebello, where I was born and raised. My Tongva name, it translates to strong standing oak. I just would like to acknowledge the land that we're standing on. We are in traditional Tongva territory. We are the original people of the LA Basin. Our territory stretched from Malibu to Laguna Beach, the Channel Islands, into San Bernardino. And I just want to remind people that we are still here. We are not people of the past. We're still keeping our cultures alive and everything. We're still thriving as well. And I just want to say Wishkoneha, and thank you.
Thanks, Josh. That was great. And we'll kind of head into our conversation here. I think Belinda, right, and you and I will talk a little bit about some of our work on legislation.
Absolutely. So again, thank you, Thomas, and all our board members and the participants in the fundraiser, and Kelly again for kicking us off, and Josh for setting that land acknowledgement statement. What I want to talk about tonight is, our policy programs generally and how they are, as we've heard a lot from our president-elect recently, the soul of our organization. Policy has been the baseline of our work, and it's so critically important. Many of you remember that Nature for All was previously known as San Gabriel Mountains Forever, and that represents our federal program. And our federal program has been a bedrock of our policies that we're trying to get established to be able to create the San Gabriel Mountains Foothills Rivers Protection Act, which will expand the monument designated by President Obama, which we were very thankful for back in 2014. And then since then, we have looked at expansion of the monument in the bill, designation of wilderness, wild and scenic rivers, and also the National Recreation Area in our foothill areas and along our river corridors of the San Gabriel and the Rio Hondo. So it's been a phenomenal program that has run now for 10 years, and we're getting very close to actually getting the legislation passed to do that extension and do the other things that I just mentioned. And part of our accomplishments this last year was that we secured 24 co-authors for the act. We collected over 9,000 petitions from individuals, 74 from electeds and commissioners, and 30 from businesses and 57 from NGOs. And that work is not possible without all the members of our coalition working together to make sure that we can secure all of this support. So for tonight, I think one of the things that we're really keen into is that we couldn't do this without the grassroots support that people like Josh symbolize for us, because it takes that, real community voice back in DC to make these things move forward. So I think that recognizing Josh for his work and helping support that is something that's critically important. And I do want to get in just a quick discussion here with Thomas, just so that he can share with us what his perspective is on why this is so important and what we can all do to help get this across the finish line, hopefully in this Congress. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so just real quick, my parents immigrated here from outside. We're not born in the United States, but when they immigrated here and started to raise our family, they were made a point all the open space and the natural spaces in the United States, and the care that our country and kind of our communities showed for preserving that natural space for generations to come, and for the enjoyment of all. And for me personally, I learned to swim and to do a lot of things at our local parks in the city, and continue to enjoy kind of our parks and our green space and our open space, for all of the opportunities that are there, and the health benefits that accrue as well for our communities. But the fact is that many of our communities just don't have enough access and don't have the ability to enjoy the benefits that come with access to open space, to natural spaces, and the green spaces. But here in the San Gabriel Valley, especially in park poor communities, the San Gabriel Mountains is a critical piece of open space and green space and natural spaces for our communities, especially our park poor communities. And you see that by the number of visitors that go annually to the San Gabriel Mountains. And I think with COVID and our kind of safer at home environment, it's never been clearer to me and to I think many of us the need and the benefit of access and being able to go to a park or go to a green space and open space to enjoy kind of nature and to reconnect and to step away from the computers that we're stuck to sometimes and the email and all of that. And our work at Nature for All has been to advocate for more of this access, for make sure we preserve this kind of space for our current benefit, but also for future generations as well. And we've got a lot of work still to do. The President Obama, when he was president, 2014, designated the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument. There's still more work to be done to make sure resources are there invested in the spaces there, but also to make sure that there's access for, especially for communities that don't have direct access to the nature that's there. And one of the people, as Belinda was pointing to, that's been super helpful, especially this last year in our efforts and in his own efforts, Josh Andujo, has been helping to get us over the finish line with the San Gabriel Mountains, the protection bill, providing critical input from a voice that hasn't been heard previously on this bill, that of descendant of the Gabrielino Tongva, San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians. Josh is a graduate of our Leadership Academy and his Academy project, Survival in the Wild, taught over 30 different people survival skills that are needed when you're in the San Gabriel Mountains. He was going to host a camping trip to kind of put teaching in action, but obviously COVID hit and tougher to get together in groups. But he's come back to support and continues to support the next group of Academy participants in our programs. And also outside of Nature for All, he's also advocated for the Save Oak Flats, the fight to protect sacred Apache land. We are honored to recognize Josh for his contributions and his continued work and advocacy for our San Gabriel's program. And I think we've got a quick video of Josh.
Miha noone Shivanga noni herka noiha tomechar. Hello, my name is Josh Andujo. I'm a tribal member of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabriel Band of Mission Indians. I'm with Nature for All, graduating class of cohort 16. Just want to say thank you to everybody for having me as an honoree for this year's 2020 fall fundraiser. Want to give another thank you for the dope opportunities y'all gave me within and outside of the organization, having me a part of the program, two, working with my tribe, just giving us so many opportunities to educate people that were still here, the knowledge that y'all shared with us, and for sending me out to DC to do some lobbying for a bill that fortunately I was able to get passed that time being out there. Just would like to reflect on the opportunities within the program. Like I said, from having me a part of the program, being able to meet a lot of dope people, understanding how local politics work from city to our governor, and being able to use that knowledge and share it with the community, you know. And I'm fortunate enough to start my own organization with the knowledge that y'all shared with us of how to do things in a right way as a community organization. So again, thank you for everything, you know, and I'm really honored to be a part of this program and to be an honoree. So again, thank you to everybody. Wish Koneha.
Thanks. Congratulations, Josh.
Yeah. So Thomas, I think we can move on into our next award, which is, for basically our work in water policy, which has been a more recent addition to our portfolio. And it's something that we started working on about 3 years ago when it became clear that water was becoming such a critical issue in all facets of our work, not only as it relates to the San Gabriel Mountains as a source of our water supply, but also understanding the context in our urban communities and where, you know, people were starting to feel the effects of, you know, the bad impacts of dirty water on our health and such. So we started working on Measure W, the Safe Clean Water Program. And as part of that, we recognized that, you know, the big missing voice out of all of this was the local community. So part of our efforts and in the leadership development program, Omar is going to speak to this a lot more, and so is Brian, but it was really important for us to start really communicating a lot with local community members that could voice, you know, what the needs were in terms of water policies, so that when investments were being made, they would be made in a way that really supported those actions. So I'm very proud that today we're going to be able to acknowledge one of the participants in that program. And I think I'll have Thomas introduce her.
Sure, yeah, no, we're proud to be able to honor Laura Santos tonight from our San Gabriel Valley Leadership Development class in 2019, and then the 17th cohort of our Leadership Academy this year. Laura is a passionate community advocate. She's worked on several recent state and local ballot measures and is currently doing outreach and education for the Upper LA River Tributary Master Plan. She is also an elected Mount SAC school or college board member and hopes to improve and is working to improve park and open space access in her park community. After completing our program, she became quite involved in the process to approve projects for Measure W, the Safe Clean Water Program, and has been a champion on making sure that a project in her neighborhood is developed with local input. She put in the work and the project was ultimately approved. Thank you, Laura. And now we've got a video to tee up for her as well.
Oh my goodness. I am so thrilled and so honored to be recognized by such a fabulous organization. I want to thank Brian Matsumoto. I had been around Nature for All in my other environmental endeavors, but it was Brian who took the time at an event to invite me to go to their leadership training and encourage me. I went and I was just blown away. I didn't realize what Nature for All has to offer. So now I'm a graduate of cohort 17 of the academy, unfortunately the COVID cohort, and I'm a certified naturalist. And I'm being recognized for the things I love to do. What could be better? Thank you, Belinda, Brian, Adesali, Omar, and everybody at Nature for All. I'm just thrilled and honored.
Congratulations, Laura. Sorry, I couldn't hit the mute button real quick. I just want to do a quick reminder. I know it's 7:30. I hope we have extended the time for the silent auction because I'd like to bid some more, but hopefully that's extended for a few more minutes at least. But if you haven't already, please check on your bids and go check it out again and make sure you put in your bids. Those will be closed soon. And at this point, let me turn over the program to Casey and Brian to talk a little bit more about some of our programs.
Everyone, thank you. Welcome, and we're going to be talking to Casey Schreiner, who is our board member. Hello, Casey. Good to see you.
Hi, everybody.
And Casey, for those of you who don't know, is the founder and editor of Modern Hiker. We were very lucky to secure him as our board member. You can see his books in the background. And we're going to talk to you about access. Let me ask you, Casey, since this is like your bread and butter, why is access such a big deal? Access to nature in Los Angeles. Why is it a Nature for All priority?
Well, access to nature is such a huge priority for Nature for All, but especially in LA, because LA is this really weird setup because we have these amazing, beautiful, tremendous outdoor resources, but we don't really have ways to get to them from a lot of places. Like LA County is huge. We have 1% of the entire population of the country is in LA County. So when people say LA, do you mean Hollywood? Do you mean Long Beach? Do you mean San Gabriel? Like there's so many places in LA. So for a lot of people, a lot of those resources like the Santa Monica Mountains, Griffith Park, or the San Gabriel Mountains are really inaccessible if you don't have a car, especially. There's a lot of places that just don't have metro lines running to them, or if there are mass transit lines, they're kind of unreliable. They might come every 47 minutes on weekdays if you're lucky, and it's just not a thing that you can really plan an outdoor trip to. Lack of transportation is usually the number one or the number two barrier to getting into the outdoors for LA. So I'm really happy and proud to be working with Nature for All because we're doing these really tangible projects to connect people to the outdoors. That's, in some cases, almost literally in their backyards. A lot of people can see these mountains from where they're living. They just can't get to them if they don't have a car. And that's a big problem.
The primary thing that I work on for sure. And did you have a question for me?
Yeah. So like, what are we doing about that access? Like, what are some of the programs that we're doing here?
I'm glad you asked that question, Casey. A real thing that we've focused on at Nature for All is transit to trails. It's a really huge opportunity we have here in LA because if you think about it, the San Gabriel Mountains are 70% of our open space, right? But there is literally no way for a person without a car to get up there. And those are our public lands. And meanwhile, we've invested a lot of money in public transportation. The Gold Line goes so close to the foothills, but you just can't get up there. So many people in the region have been working on transit to trails over the years, and we've really taken it and we're doing the San Gabriel Mountains Transit Infrastructure Program to really coordinate across the region. And so you can see the Gold Line running below and 8 different routes that we're working on with cities and agencies. These are different proposals, But the idea is just get folks on shuttles and buses up to these popular destinations so they can see for themselves. And you yourself, Casey, got to ride on several of these transit to trails pilot projects. You want to just give a quick kind of overview of how these things have worked and where they've gone?
I did, yes. I was lucky enough to ride on two basically the major pilot programs that we did. One was from Pasadena up to the Lake Avenue trailhead to the popular Echo Mountain area, which is a really, really awesome place to go hiking. It's a great gateway to the San Gabriel Mountains. And the first one that I did that we've actually run twice as a pilot program was from the Arcadia Gold Line stop up to Santa Anita Canyon. Now I'm a big hiker. I've lived in LA for like 17 years now. And if you had told me, 17 years ago when I first moved out there that I would be able to go hike in Santa Anita Canyon without ever setting foot in a private car, I would have laughed you out of whatever platform we were talking on. The first time I did it, I live in Thai Town. So I walked from my front door to the Red Line, took the Red Line to Union Station, took the Gold Line up to Arcadia, took the shuttle up to the trailhead, and literally every single journey or every single leg of that journey, I met someone who was excited to be hiking and was actually joining that. I formed this big group as we kept going down the Metro line. And we got all the way there, and the shuttle riding up to the canyon was amazing. Everybody was super excited. It was like a party atmosphere once we got there. Smokey Bear was there handing out goodies. It was amazing. It was an experience that I think a lot of other people really loved and want to see permanently. And we are hopefully making that a possibility. So what's the update and how can people get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I work on specifically. We are actively applying for grants right now to make these things real and permanent shuttle services and not just pilots. What I'm showing you here is one thing that we want folks to understand is that transit to trails will really get to reach way into LA and serve a lot of under-resourced and underrepresented communities. You can see the Metro rail lines, meeting it up in Union Station in the middle. And the orange and yellow are disadvantaged communities, severely disadvantaged communities, demarcated by the state. And our tally is like 750,000 residents will be able to have access. These are folks who can just walk in that little circle, 1 mile radius to a station and be up on the Gold Line to that circle, Pasadena Memorial Station, and potentially be up on a route to Mount Wilson Express in say 45 minutes to an hour. So those are the kinds of things we're working on. And just to close it out, so these are two proposals that we're working on now. So don't get excited yet. Of course, these things take years and we're looking for funding, but kind of our visions are Mount Wilson Express. That bus could hop on the 210 freeway, get you up to the mountains in about 45 minutes, be at Atamakna American Indian Cultural Center, Switzer Falls, the picnic area. Obviously around Mount Wilson, the Bobcat Fire has been devastating, but the observatory is a huge historic landmark and it'll obviously be a destination in years to come. So that's one thing we're working on. And then over in the city of Duarte, Fish Canyon Trail, we're working to get grants to restore that because the city has committed to running a shuttle there as well. So just want to close it out because folks want to know how to get involved. We'll be reaching out for community support letters, but also, you can be advocates in your own cities. Tell your city recreation people, hey, give us shuttles to the mountains, Metro Transit to parks, make it happen. So that's where the advocacy really comes in.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Brian was saying there, definitely this stuff, we could use your help talking to your local transit agencies. A lot of times you're looking at these things on a map and you're like, oh, we only need this much of a connection. It's going to be so easy to do. But there are so many different people involved in this. So just let your local communities know that you want to be able to take transit to the trails. It'll really help us out.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess now's a good time to talk about our champions of access.
Yes, we have two really, really awesome folks that we're honoring tonight. First up is Lydia Aguilar. Lydia's been a volunteer for Nature for All for more than 10 years. During this period, she's organized dozens of trips to the San Gabriel Mountains to connect families to public lands, often for the first time, which is just an amazing experience to get to have. Lydia's advocated for years to create connections to public lands, talking to thousands of community members, collecting thousands of petitions in support of these programs, and promoting pilot programs in disadvantaged communities. She's one of the original ambassador trainers, and in the last year and a half has recruited and provided 8 community-based building trainings to more than 120 community members. Thank you for your passion to improve access for those communities that need it the most.
Thank you. And I believe we have a video from Lydia.
So, hey, Brian, we're having some issues. Can you move into the next awardee and we'll try to bring Lydia's video?
Absolutely, back to back.
Sure. So the next person that we have is Dorothy Wong. She's a graduate from the Leadership Academy, and she's become very well known as an Altadena Town Council member and a bicycle safety advocate. Last year, Nature for All hired Dorothy as an event coordinator for our All Aboard for Nature Public Lands Day LA. And Dorothy went above and beyond, as she very often does, pulling off logistics, organization, physical setup, and drawing on her relationships in the community to make the event a phenomenal success. Over 400 participants engaged in the morning festival, and we sent over 200 community members on 5 guided transit to parks adventures, many for their first time. We showed what transit to parks can look like in LA, and we could not have done this without you. Dorothy's also been dedicated to the Stewards Group, and during this pandemic, when so many have felt isolated, she has co-organized the popular Wild LA Wednesdays book club series, which just yesterday discussed LA wildfires. Dorothy, you have helped provide a community of sharing, learning, and deep appreciation for all this wild LA that we live in. Thank you for your dedication to access and to Nature for All, and for your boundless energy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for my award. There it is. I'm here in the Arroyo Seco at Hahamangna Watershed. That is the mighty cottonwood tree behind me, and that tree was an amazing tool for us to help protect 14 acres that were going to be dug up and bulldozed out, but instead are going to stay in its natural state closest to the San Gabriel Mountains right behind us here. And amazingly enough, I got involved with Nature for All through a phone call, and the work I was doing here has led to so many amazing things. I'm now on my 2nd term as a town council member in Altadena, focusing on access, continual access. Stay tuned. So let's keep this going. Nature for All 2020, 2021 and beyond. Thank you for this magical award. Aloha.
That was great. That was totally Dorothy. Do we have a video from Lydia as well?
Buenas noches a todos y a todas, muchas gracias por estar acá y le vengo a, bueno, estoy muy agradecida con este privilegio, de este reconocimiento que se me ha otorgado hoy día por apoyar el proyecto de Naturaleza para Todos, en que haya acceso a las montañas de San Gabriel para toda la comunidad de aquí del condado de Los Ángeles, y pues vamos a seguir en la lucha, perseverando y luchando para que haya más proyectos buenos como este y que todos en la comunidad podamos tener acceso a las montañas de San Gabriel, no solamente por medio de la línea dorada del metro, y que haya, digamos, también bases para poder ir más familias al pie de las montañas de San Gabriel. Muchísimas gracias. Feliz noche.
Gracias a Lydia, and thank you so much to Dorothy. Thank you, Casey, as well. Congrats to the winners also of Casey's 4 books, which he generously offered. So I'll turn it over to the next person, and thanks for being with us, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So we are the third panel. So we're going to be sharing, and we're going to be talking about our work with the leadership development program. That, you know, this is the most important program for nonprofit organizations. Organizations that are successful at bringing change and creating policies into the communities have a strong leadership development, right? Have a strong organizing tools and skills that can really deliver change to the communities, but work really closely to the communities. So one of the things that I wanted to do, I wanted to start just highlighting briefly some of the you know, the work that we do. So traditionally, most most nonprofit organizations tend to work, or at least I've seen that they work on creating a very good, maybe a training program, but there's no follow-up, right? And then they usually have just one training program, and that's all that they provide. So one of the things that we've done differently at Nature for All is that we have developed and structure a ladder, that what we call a leadership ladder, understanding that not everybody is ready to commit fully on participating, but they might want to be involved in some of those issues that you're working on. And then that you need follow through, right? So a lot of, like I said, a lot of organizations do one training and then, you know, thank you, and we'll see you again at some point. And one of the things that Nature for All does differently is like we have continued engagement with our participants, with our trainers. So we have developed this program that, you know, provides opportunities for people to go from a sympathizer, somebody that kind of signs a petition, to somebody that joins an orientation, to somebody that goes to a community-based building training, a leadership development training. And finally, we have a trainers that we call our ambassadors program. And this is, you know, the super leaders, the super volunteers at this level, they have gone through several steps of trainings. And now they're organizing in the communities, they're recruiting to the communities, and they're providing trainings to those communities. So before, you know, I'll just wanted to highlight some of our goals, some of our impact in this year. So obviously with COVID, our numbers have changed a little bit. We had to transition all of our organizing programs, all of our trainings to a virtual setting like this. But, you know, just this year, we've done more than 20 meetings, including, you know, some virtual meetings with elected officials, all of those organized by our ambassadors. So that's something that we want to highlight, how the ambassadors are the ones that are building relationships with the elected officials in their districts. We've done more than 36 new leadership new leaders training into our leadership program, 10 new ambassadors this year. We've completed 137 community-based building, participants went through our community-based building training. Almost 200 have gone through an orientation process, and you know, about 2,000 petitions. But you know, that's just the numbers, some of the work that we've done. But you know, more importantly, like I said, is those connections that the leaders are establishing with elected officials and to the communities, that is important. So maybe Vanessa, just to get started, can you share with us why you think programs like Nature for All Leadership Development are critical to the success of nonprofit organizations?
Absolutely. Thank you, Omar. Buenas noches. Es un privilegio, un honor estar con ustedes. It's wonderful to be here with everyone. When this program started 10 years ago, Omar and I were in different places, but working together. And what I remember in conversations was making sure that we wanted to, that there was a program that was developed that would address the needs of community and spark interest from the community. So I think that Omar having had so much experience with leadership trainings and academies, there was real insight from community members and from promotores cívicos or civic promoters that was informing what the structure would look like. And that was really what was needed, was this structure for a leadership academy. And the reason why they're important is because organizations that are doing advocacy work or organizing work, such as Nature for All, rely on being able not just to have the policy victories and to have the legislation passed, but really to engage those residents, those community members who are most impacted by the policies, the programs, or the practices. And so when community is at the table and able to inform what those changes should be, that's when you start to see real systemic change that can be truly impactful in a way that's positive, in a way that's encouraging, and in a way that also restores hope and hope in a system. And so the success of a leadership academy, like Omar said, isn't made up of just providing information and sending people along, but it's also about engaging the people that you are interacting with and ensuring that they are informing what the curriculum could look like, how it can be improved, how it can resonate with community more, and also providing opportunities for those residents that are receiving the Leadership Academy. There's a fly, I'm sorry, I feel like Mike Pence right now, that there's an opportunity for those people that are engaging to really be part of the process, this democratic process that is supposed to be open and transparent and truly democratic. And that's what that looks like, is community residents being at the table to do that.
Thank you, Vanessa. So moving along, you know, the conservation movement has not traditionally been a space where families of color lead the conversation, you know, and so why do you think the environmental movement continues to be mostly, you know, there's some exceptions, but mostly driven by white, older, wealthier Americans, unlike other movements like, you know, the health, you know, healthcare movement, the immigrant rights movement, labor movement, education, and many others that, you know, are really driven by families of colors. What do you think with that still needs to change for the conservation movement?
A couple of things. One of the reasons it remains that way is because there's not a Nature for All in every state and every large area engaging communities of color. I think what Nature for All provides is a perfect recipe for how you bring people of different backgrounds to the table, people of different experiences to the table. And it really, the organization also capitalizes on the fact that many immigrants that you've engaged and that you have put through the Academy program come from places where open spaces and natural resources were very accessible. And it's something that is part of their culture. But when they come here, for instance, to Los Angeles, it's very different. The access isn't as readily available. The days look different in the way that we work. That's one reason. I think another reason is we haven't quite, as a national community, we haven't quite enough put sufficient change in the narrative that connects the environmental movement and the green movement, connects it to the health movement and different aspects of it. This is not just a matter of conserving open space. This is now a matter of public health. And we're seeing it right now in the pandemic. In my regular work, I engage with several different parents. And one of the things top of mind with Latino parents, for instance, is the mental health of their children. And staying indoors and doing the distance learning has been very challenging for a number of reasons. They have found refuge in being able to take their children out on a hike, at a picnic. Parks being closed, I know for my kids was horrible. We would drive by a park and there'd be ribbon caution tape all over the slides. This is an opportunity for people in a time when, you know, they're losing their jobs and there's economic uncertainty, to do something that is both freeing to the body and to the mind, not just of the parents or the children, but just overall the greater health of the family. And so I think it's really important that we recognize that the green movement is really also the health movement. And there's actually somebody who shared that earlier that's been doing a lot of that work. Dr. Michael Rodriguez over at UCLA Fielding School of Public Health. There's research and also sees that these two are connected and have to be surfaced, and the narrative has to change so that we are able to have people resonate with that message more, because they can feel the impact and they're seeing it directly.
Thank you, Vanessa. So when we are doing the leadership development class on civic engagement and organizing, I always bring this story that when COFEM decided to do some work in Coachella, it was specifically for our education campaign that we were doing there. And I remember the first meetings that we got there, you know, that like we were organizing the community, like, hey, this is very important for your kids, for the future of your kids and your families. And, you know, everybody had like, you know, I believe you, this is important, but, you know, there's A, B, and C that are on top of my list. You know, there's all these things that are happening. There are raids happening on the streets, you know, and I'm afraid that, you know, I'm going to be picked up by immigration. So there were all these other things that were happening in those communities that would not allow them to, you know, to even consider education as a priority because they had all those issues. And the moment that, you know, the organization realized that, you know, we have to address some of these issues too in order for us to like really build trust and connection to those communities and engage those communities, it's when we started seeing results, right? And then you could see it because that organization, even up to now, more than 10 years now, they're still engaged with those first community members or community leaders that we engaged 10 years ago. But it was because of that. So I think it's one of those things you have to listen to some of the needs of the community. And that love and passion for conservation movement is going to come, but you have to tackle it differently. You have to address some of the other issues, and that is access. That is, that is health. You know, the lack of parks in local spaces, right? If you don't have a park at home or near home, you know, that's really critical for a lot of our families. So finally, just before we move on to the words, we just wanted to, you know, continue with this conversation about you know, the need for communities of color to be at the table. You know, and a lot of the movements, they kind of invite the communities of color at the end. So kind of like an afterthought, like just to show that, hey, yeah, we did include them. But, you know, that's not the way to do it. So my question for you, Vanessa, is how do you develop a successful organizing environmental movement?
I think the knowledge of being able to understand how the system can work and how you can use that system for change is really important. Community residents will always be the first to be able to tell you exactly what the problem is. I can't take the 55 to the 24 to the, and they'll tell you the problems with the bus lines or where they can go up to and where they can't. Or, you know, they can say there's this, they might know about a beautiful public beach house, like the Annenberg Beach House in Santa Monica, but they won't be able to get to it because either they don't have the transportation or the work schedule or a variety of different things. So community understands the problems, they're living the problems. But what we need to cultivate more and encourage more is understanding how that change actually happens. And earlier, you heard people asking you to be in contact with those that make the decisions with Metro and some of the other decision makers. That's a step, and that's a very critical step in understanding that policy making is really more of an art than a science. Policy making is more relational. And what we're seeing now across movements across the state and the country are people that are taking the microphone and speaking out about their experiences and calling for the change, because we're starting to understand, everyone is starting to understand what those processes are to make the change in the policy, the program, or the practice. And so I think one way of doing that is making sure that you're meeting people where they are, which I am very proud to say Nature for All is doing. They meet the leaders that are going through the academies where they are. They're culturally relevant. They are hands-on. They even just offering schedules that are offering the programs to meet different schedules is important. So it's really about engaging and not involving. And the difference is engaging is you are creating the opportunities to authentically allow people to participate, versus, you know, presenting something that maybe is not in line with, you know, something that makes it easy for folks to become involved. So that's, I think that's an important way of being able to ensure that the diversity is there and continues to be there.
Thank you, Vanessa. So I think before we finish with this panel, we want to highlight and honor some of our, you know, champions. So yeah, take it away, Vanessa.
Great. So the first honoree tonight is Olivia Diaz. Olivia Diaz truly represents what the Leadership Development Program is about. Over the last almost 4 years, Olivia has gone through our leadership letter organizing model, which Omar earlier described. She is started as a volunteer who wanted to bring more parks to her community. And over the years, she completed the leadership trainings and the Train the Trainers program. So she's also brought people up with her. Olivia has spent hundreds of hours in her community of Panorama City and North Hills, knocking on doors, volunteering at dozens of tabling events to inform and engage her community members about opportunities to improve access to open space, and creating more green space in the community by working for a water resilient Los Angeles. Olivia has completed the Ambassadors Program. She has recruited and trained close to 100 additional community members, and she's played a key role in organizing Nature for All community events in the San Fernando Valley. Olivia has put into practice everything that she learned in our leadership program, and she's developed strong working relationships with local elected officials in her district to the point that all the staff members know her, her work, and her work in the community. Olivia is a real community champion, and we thank you for your passion and determination to bring nature to one of the country's most densely populated and park-poor communities. Congratulations, Olivia.
Muchas gracias Naturaleza para todos por darme la oportunidad de ser parte de este proyecto y poder apoyar a diferentes personas de la comunidad que también están interesadas en ver un buen futuro para nuestra comunidad, lo que es en áreas verdes, en aguas limpias. Las clases han sido todo un éxito. A pesar de lo que se está pasando en estos tiempos de la pandemia, hemos tenido buen alcance y eso es algo fabuloso. Eso quiere decir que estamos interesados en seguir haciendo el cambio de corazón. Muchas gracias.
Bravo, Olivia. Should I move on to the second now, Omar?
Yes.
Great. We also want to honor Emi Kusayanagi, who exemplifies Leadership Academy goals by putting her training into action in order to engage and connect underserved communities to the San Gabriel Mountains. Emi was a graduate of the 16th cohort of the Leadership Academy. Her Academy project was a highlight for 2020, which connected over 30 youth from Lenox, a small community right near the airport, to all the wonderful benefits that nature can provide. The project, which also emphasized potential careers for youth in the outdoors and provided education around why and how to advocate for public lands. Additionally, Emi has been an exemplary Academy alumni in her eagerness to support our lobbying efforts this September in our virtual fly-in. Again, Emi went above and beyond in order to support and move legislation to protect the San Gabriel Mountains. Emi, your energy, determination, and ongoing support is why we want to honor you tonight with this special, special award. You are an important part of this organization and the community at large. We want to thank you and congratulations, Emi.
Hi, my name is Emi, and I am a graduating member of Nature for All's Cohort 16 Leadership Academy. I'm so glad that I decided to apply to this program because being new to Los Angeles and coming from a purely fieldwork-based background, the program truly opened my eyes to the various aspects of the environmental movement here and understand the intersectionality of environment with social justice, history, politics, and community organizing. Some highlights of the program include getting to know my cohort members and meeting people and coming together with people who share similar interests and desire for change, and still coming from various different backgrounds, so getting to know them was really fun. Another highlight is hearing from different organizations in Los Angeles and getting to visit some of those places. Another highlight was I always looked forward to the vegan-friendly and locally sourced food that Araceli ordered for us. And finally, my final project, where I brought a group of 30 youth from Lenox to the San Gabriel Mountains, and many of them had never visited the San Gabriel Mountains. So that was so much fun and allowed me to bring together everything I learned from the Leadership Academy into an actionable project. Thank you so much for this recognition, and I am so honored, and I look forward to continuing to be involved with Nature for All. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Vanessa, so much for joining us with this panel. And I think we're gonna pass it over to Araceli, who's gonna have the final panel of the night. And also we invite you to stay over after the last panel. We're gonna be announcing the winners of the silent auction. So take it away, Araceli.
Thank you, Omar and Vanessa, and to all of our honorees and speakers so far. I was really excited today to be on the call with Charles. I'm not sure if he's there. I think something did come up, last minute emergency. So I'll be having this conversation with Brian today. So you can also spotlight Brian. If you can join me on for this conversation. And we're going to talk about the stewards, our stewards program. Our stewards program is, we've been kind of relating to different parts of the bodies. I'd say the stewards are the lungs of Nature for All, with a mission to empower Nature for All alumni, volunteers, and community supporters to continue their advocacy work and support the goals of the Nature for All Coalition. The stewards are our diverse and active volunteer group, which includes alumni of both the Leadership Academy and the Leadership Ambassadors Training Program. The stewards group has grown from a few Leadership Academy graduates hiking together to an organized grassroots volunteers group. So again, I'll be joined by Brian with, I guess, Charles, guest speaker in the background. Thanks for joining, Brian. So I wanted to ask you, what would be your definition of a steward?
Yeah, Araceli, I'm happy to step in for Chuck because I went through the Outward Bound Adventures DOLI program, Diverse Outdoor Leaders Institute, which Chuck created. And so he's a great guy, really looking out to bring up youth and connect them to nature, just like Nature for All. So he's an excellent board member for us. He wrote this definition: a steward is someone who uses the land without adversely impacting the land, a person who restores the land and helps others to know how to protect it, a person who always leaves our natural landscapes better than they found it. A steward is a teacher, a mentor, and champion for the diversity of all living beings.
That's great. And I think that that definition really exemplifies or defines the honorees that we'll be honoring tonight for our community champion of the Stewards program. So Brian, who is our first honoree?
Yeah, it's really appropriate that I get to recognize Brenda Kyle, who's become a personal friend, but we met through Nature for All. Brenda Kyle is a long-term supporter and advocate of the Nature for All Coalition. She's a 2013 graduate, although, taking it back to the 5th cohort of the Academy. And she continues to not only be generous with her time, but is a trailblazer, creating programming and resources that reach our Spanish-speaking community members. As a Nature for All steward, docent, and certified naturalist, she initiated the first Spanish language nature walks at Eaton Canyon, Paseos en la Naturaleza, and has worked for years on personal efforts, including translating and gathering Spanish names for native California plants, securing binoculars for bird walks, and creating Leave No Trace cartoons, which I encourage you to check out in Espanol in her social media, Chaparralche. At the Theodore Payne Foundation, as Community Engagement Coordinator, Brenda has been increasing inclusivity and diversity through her outreach efforts to widen the audience to our underrepresented communities. Through her work, she has increased community participants' environmental education, access, and personal experiences in nature. So Brenda, thank you for your dedication to stewardship, education, and to Nature for All.
Thank you so much, Nature for All, for this wonderful honor. Going through the Academy, I learned power mapping, art through advocacy, and really what building community means. A lot of times our work as advocates becomes silent, we become invisible, and that's when it's more important to become more vocal. It's going through was such a wonderful experience, and having people support me in our mission, which is to have better access to trails and the outdoors in general. Many thanks to Eaton Canyon, to the Theodore Payne Foundation, and to all the wonderful people that donated binoculars, because that's when community came together. I didn't do it on my own. Thank you so much for this wonderful honor.
Appreciate that.
You got it.
Sorry about that. I was having some serious technical difficulties. Go ahead, Araceli. I'm sorry.
No worries. It seems like all of us tonight. So it wouldn't be a Zoom event if we didn't have at least a little bit of technical difficulties. So thank you so much for joining us. We just shared about Brenda, and we're off on to our next honoree. But before we talk about our honoree, I want to just share a little bit more about the Stewards Program, and then maybe ask you another question, Charles.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian, for standing in. He make a good Charles.
Thank you, Brian.
Learn from the best.
Awesome. So a little bit more about the Stewards Program. So prior to the global pandemic, the Stewards were hosting a variety of engaging community events, ranging from river cleanups to beer festivals. They found innovative ways to connect families and underserved communities to all the benefits that nature can provide, and turn them into advocates for our public lands. So when we all had to shift to a safer at home order, the Stewards did what leaders do best, and they stepped up to the plate to support their communities. They continue to host fun, engaging, and informative virtual events to support their community during these tough times. These included a virtual Friday film night, an immersive book club with the Natural History Museum, and Instagram nature talks, and so much more. At the core of these events is the ongoing organizing efforts by all the stewards. And Charles, I wanted to ask you, for those wondering at home, how can they become a steward for public lands?
Why, thank you. I'm almost afraid to follow Brian. He does such a good Charles. I'm really impressed with him. I could see him doing me, but I couldn't get on. But anyway, thank you for that. I think first, to become a steward for public land, I think it's absolutely critical to understand that the effectiveness of any movement depends on how broad the base is. And so you got to engage the fullest spectrum of the American public if we're going to protect our public lands. So if you want to become a steward and you want to get involved in the land, you can start with volunteering. You can start with volunteering with some of the largest public land managers that are out there, like the Forest Service, the National Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and get involved in their citizen science programs. From there, you can actually get involved in restoration projects that are happening all over the country that are going on with land trusts, land conservancies, with county parks, natural and open spaces. But I think it's really important that we understand that volunteering is one thing, and becoming a steward and working for the land is absolutely critical. But we shouldn't stop, especially those of us who come from communities that historically have been absent. We shouldn't stop there. We should really pursue a career there. And that is important in understanding when you go to volunteer, that you have a career pathway or a pipeline, that you say, I really want to get a job in these areas. But volunteering starts that opening the doors for you and getting into these citizen science programs. The Bureau of Land Management is a tremendously large organization that is in desperate need of volunteers working in their citizen science projects. So that's a very good place to start. And then again, I would go to land conservancies, land trusts, open space districts, and county parks and natural space districts.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome. Sorry I was late to the party.
No worries. Definitely glad you were able to join us. Yeah, so shifting to with what you just said and who we'll be honoring next, I think also being a steward for public lands can sometimes be a selfless but very fulfilling act. And I think all that you shared also defines our next honoree. Someone who does not do this work for the praise, but because it needs to be done. Can you share a little bit about our next honoree?
Absolutely. Our community champion, our next community champion for tonight is Machiko Yasuda. Am I pronouncing the first name correctly? I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her. Is it Machiko?
Yes.
Okay. She's a graduate of the San Gabriel Valley Leadership Development Program, and Machiko truly exemplifies a leader because through her determination, energy, and commitment to showing up for others in need and supporting her fellow classmates to researching and advocating for equitable access to local trails, that's the way to go, Machiko. That's just one of the best things you can do. Machiko goes above and beyond for the organization and for the community at large. Not only is Machiko a consistent and supportive member of the Steward Group, she works with a variety of local organizations around the preservation of the San Gabriel Mountains and local trails. She and her partner Max maintain a trash bag right around the corner from my house up here. I'm right at the base of the San Merrill Trail, and she has a trash bag there. I wonder whose trash bag that was. So thank you for that, Machiko. And you guys do regular cleanups there. Very good. She's written letters to Metro Speaking up for transit to parks in the Palos Verdes fight for affordable public lands parking in her community of Altadena to speak out for safe streets. So when needing any sort of technical support, Machiko is always willing to lend her time and support. And in fact, when needing support on the development of a website for volunteers for our local forest, Machiko was the first one to step up and lead those efforts. So Machiko, we are extremely happy and honored to be able to work with you and to honor you through this award. So thank you so much for your dedication to protecting and connecting people to the San Gabriel Mountains, and especially for Nature for All.
Thank you so much. For me, joining Nature for All has been such an opportunity to meet amazing people and really connect with the land here and all the amazing people that care for it. And I am just so excited to keep working with everybody here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charles, again, for being here for this conversation and to help me present these awards tonight. I want to also thank and congratulate our honorees from tonight, all of our honorees. And I want to invite the audience to join us in congratulating our champions. You can congratulate them via chat or next time you see them in person when we are able to meet again. And I want to also remind folks to please, if you can, continue to donate to our fundraiser. Although the auction has ended, we are still taking donations. You can text N4A to 661-218-1323. And so I thank you again.
I want to close tonight by just giving everyone my heartfelt thanks for your participation tonight. It's been utterly amazing. Here it is, almost 8:30, and we still have 47 people participating. So yay! You know, that is very, very cool. And so first of all, I want to give a big shout out to our board members. Thank you so much. For participating with us, for helping to drive the efforts. All of you, have contributed in so many different ways, financially, personally, and we can't thank you enough. We have such an awesome board. And of course, to the staff, we could not have put this together without the efforts of the staff. Yay. I do want to give a shout out to our coordinator that just recently left us, Kim Orbia, who I think may still be on the call. She did an amazing job starting to get us set up for this fundraiser. And then Brian, Araceli, and Omar picked up after that and have just done amazingly. So we're tremendously excited and appreciative of not only, those people that bought tickets, but everybody that participated in the auction and also all of our donors. And before we say adieu to everyone, we want to see, for those of you that can turn on your cameras, we want to take a quick screenshot of everyone to make sure that we can memorialize this, and want to just, again, give you our heartfelt thanks for your participation today. So if we could go to that, Omar, so we can take a screenshot, that would be awesome.
Sorry, Belinda, but for the webinars, it doesn't have the
It
option.
doesn't have it.
No.
Oh, okay.
So it's only the panelists will be able to.
It does.
So we can do a panelist screenshot.
Okay, terrific, terrific. Well, again, thank you so much. And I look forward to hopefully by next year, we'll be able to do this in person and celebrate together. But this was actually pretty awesome. I just so enjoyed hearing from everyone and really being able to appreciate the depth of our programs directly with all of you. So thanks and good night.
Y'all can unmute though. Thank you so much, everyone.
Woo! Good night.
Righty.
Congrats, everyone.